Okay, we are calling to order the regular board meeting of the Cordova Recreation and Park District at 6:30 PM. And let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Good evening, Board of Directors. Brandy Dion over at Hagen. Tonight, I would like to introduce Miss Maggie Marcos to lead you in the Pledge of Allegiance. Tonight, I would like to introduce Miss Maggie Marcos to lead you in the Pledge of Allegiance.
All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Maggie. Maggie has been with the Recreation Department for 4 years. She has worked both our camp programs and our preschool programs. This summer, we heavily relied on Maggie and her experience to bounce around. So Maggie helped us out at Camp Cordova Original and then went over to Imagine That. And then a need came up at our teen camp. So we pulled her over. And so she got to kind of see all of the campers this summer. So we are so appreciative of having her on our team. And she's going into her 3rd year as one of our lead preschool instructors over at White Rock. So she'll be at White Rock 5 days a week. Maggie, could you please tell the board what your favorite thing is about working for CRPD?
My favorite thing about working for CRPD is I would say that you guys cater to our community. I've lived in Rancho Cordova almost all my life, and even from my childhood, I can remember going to the Halloween at Hagen or the Breakfast with Santa. I just love that, how catered we are to our community. I love going out into the public, and I see my kids. I see kids from Camp Cordova 5 years ago. I see my preschoolers that I've aided, and which is funny to me because they'll remember my face, and I'll go and talk to them. And the parents are like, "Who are you, and why are you talking to my kid?" And I have to reassure them I've worked with them, and I love being a part of their youth as well. So I really love that you guys cater to our community.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Okay, if we could begin with a roll call, please.
Director Sloan? Director Dansel?
Here.
Secretary Yearwood?
Here.
Vice Chair Reyes?
Here.
And Chair Lineback?
Here. All right. Now, we go on to board disclosures on action items. Are there any disclosures? All right, public comment?
Thank you, Chair Lineback. Members of the public may address the board on district topics not listed on this agenda. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes. It is a violation of state law for the board to discuss or take action on non-agenda items. Board members may only briefly ask clarifying questions or refer the matter to staff. And at this time, I have one speaker card. I'd like to call Joseph Robarts to the podium, please.
Hi. And first, I'd like to thank. Is this catching me? Okay. Yes. First, I'd like to thank the district administrator for making the presentation available on the website. That was helpful. There's at the Stone Creek Park, I noticed graffiti on the sidewalk. I'm not sure if it's still there or if it was if it's already been cleaned up, but it was within the last a month that someone wrote, cuss words on the sidewalk in like spray paint. And what else? Oh, yeah, so I went to the party in the park, which was fantastic. I've been to a few other park parties, that not CRPD park parties, but other ones, and I usually don't like them that much. Often the music is too loud and you can't hear people talking, and there's all these vendors, but it just seems like, it's just like too noisy and people are trying to sell you stuff. Here, like there was music, but it was, and it was like loud in its own area, but it didn't take over the home, so that was good. And the vendors, they were vendors, but they actually seemed cool. I'm not, it's not a very like a tangible thing, but there was like a custom sign making place and a genealogy place. It wasn't. I thought it was pretty cool, and there were people dancing to the oldies, and I really liked the rock wall. Anyway, lots of fun. And let's see. And I went to the Stop the Bleed event that Vice Chair Reyes mentioned in the previous meeting, and that was pretty helpful too. There was I've been to other first aid stuff before, and I got an update on the current use of tourniquets, so that they it's not the amputation risk that was previously thought to be, and so there was good stuff to know there. Yeah, let's see, I think that's about it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for your comments.
Jason, just want to thank you for your comments, most especially on activities that we put up, because it is very important for us to know that we're doing it right. And it is really a great feedback for us to understand that you did enjoy the party in the park and all that with everything. And staff needs to know that this was a good job then.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That reminds me, I had a question I forgot to ask. Who actually organized the park party? Because there was someone in our neighborhood that was wanted to plan an event, and they suggested to them that you guys had done a good job there, and that they wanted to know who organized it.
Oh, maybe district administrator.
Okay, so was there a specific person that headed that, or?
You can just.
So we have a recreation supervisor who leads our special events division.
Okay.
Heather, she is at the senior center.
Okay.
And so she was the one who facilitated a group of staff that put the event together.
Okay.
It was in recognition of July as Parks and Recreation Month, so that was the celebratory theme about why we did it.
Okay, so Heather at the senior center. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we are going to move on to the consent calendar.
Thank you, Chair Lineback. Consent calendar items are considered administratively routine and will be acted upon in one motion unless separate action on a specific item is necessary. The chairperson will consider any request for discussion on the items prior to approval of the consent calendar. And this evening, we have 2 items for your consideration.
Thank you, Ms. Jones. Are there any items that need to be pulled from the consent? Okay, can I have a motion, please?
I'll move that we approve consent calendar C1 and C2 as recommended by staff.
Thank you, Vice Chair Reyes. A second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Secretary Yearwood. And are there any comments or questions on the consent item by the directors? Okay, a roll call vote, please.
Director Sloan? Aye. Director Danzel?
Aye.
Secretary Yearwood?
Aye.
Vice Chair Reyes?
Aye.
And Chair Lineback?
Aye. And now we move on to item D.
Thank you, Chair Lineback. Item D1 is a presentation of the Park Planning and Development Department, and I'll turn it over to Manager Laura Taylor.
Before Laura comes up, this is a new segment that we're looking to present to our board as well as the public. We're feeling the need to educate our board and the public on each of our divisions and what their functions are as it relates to the district as a whole. So Laura is our first victim of presenting her information on park planning and development. But as we go through the calendar year, you're going to start to see the Recreation Division presenting, Human Resources, the Clerk, Finance, as well as Park Services. So she is our first person to present.
Good evening, Chair Lineback and directors. I'm excited to give you this annual report and look forward to giving you another one in a year from now. So a little bit about what I understand the background of my department to be was that at one point, there was 6 full-time staff in the park planning department. And then along came the recession, and when it hit at its peak in the 2009, that eventually caused the need for a massive reduction in department staff. And so the 6 went down to 1. It was Kathleen Franklin. And then in a rebuilding mode, under Administrator Rodham's, I was brought in as the manager in 2013 and presented a organizational structure that allowed me to then get approval to hire new staff to fill that new organizational structure. And I want to say thank you very much to the board for supporting the park planning department, both financially as well as your positive comments of support and confidence. You've been very consistent about that in the 4 years that I've been here, and that means everything to me and my staff. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for that. So the organizational structure that I proposed was three divisions, because what we do is we do long-range planning, huge district-wide oversight, as well as the implementation of project-specific sites, building new parks or doing major renovations. And then we ensure that those things are put in a quality manner so that when we pass the baton to the Park Services Department, they have a quality project that is easy to maintain and that will serve the patrons of our district for long into the future. So we, under the current budget proposal, we have 2 other positions that will likely be approved here, and that is part-time positions. One is a clerical 2. My department generates a whole lot of documents on a lot of different items, different projects, and so we need some help keeping that organized. We also have been approved for an intern 2 position that, knowing that we have a number of smaller type projects coming up through Measure J and other capital improvement type projects, we need help putting together those documents, those technical documents, to go out to bid or to provide to the Park Services Department the proper direction that they're going to need. And so those will be filled in the near future. And as you know, the long-range planning position at this point is vacant and may at some point in the future, depending upon need to be filled again. So how do all 3 of us, the divisions, work together? Okay, it basically starts at the large-scale, large development approval process, where we're negotiating with individual developers on projects that might house up to 30,000 people in a new project. At the end of all those negotiations that we go through with the land authority and the developers, the tool that we end up having that is the strongest one for us to use is the Park Development Agreement. That, at the conclusion of the Park Development Agreement, that's the point at which long-range planning passes the baton to our park planner that does the implementation of the site-specific projects. So then the park planner, Christina, begins to work diligently on the park site design, seeking input from our quality control division, which is John Biendo, and his expertise in cost estimating and project logistics and in efficiencies in putting together projects. He basically does a lot of value engineering for us, and so we get a really good bang for the buck out of that. And then, of course, we start the construction, and at that point, John Biendo's making routine site inspections depending on the complexity of the project. They might be daily, making sure that we are, in fact, getting what we paid for. So the key responsibilities for the long-range planning division, as I said, was large-scale land use planning, but also another very important component, which is that we have to get to an agreement with the developers and the land authorities about achieving proper financing for the new park system that's going to be built in each of those new developments that are coming forward. And then we also assist the Finance Department and the Park Services Department in negotiating CFDs, which takes care of the long-term maintenance and replacement costs. So, hang on 1 second. All right, so the review of proposed development takes a lot of staff time, and occasionally we have to hire legal or other consultants to give us some additional advice. So the district has a right to be reimbursed for its costs that it lays out in doing those development reviews. And we've been very successful in implementing a cost recovery system. I'm very proud of that. Not every agency has been able to do that and recoup those costs. And I have to give a shout out to Stephen Lee. He's the one that actually tracks all those costs. We put it on our time card. He puts it all together, and we send out bi-monthly invoices to the developers. The other thing that we do is we proactively coordinate with the developers and the city, the county, and the agencies. And so I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in my next slide. And we endeavor to implement a consistent level of service throughout the district. That's very important to us. So planning has a box of tools that helps us to be proactive in coordinating with the developers and the other agencies. So the tools are on the left side of the page, and those are the documents that the board has approved, over time, series of documents such as master plans, nexus studies, that kind of thing. And because of that, that gives staff the authority to make review comments and to make demands in our development reviews that the developer needs to comply with our standards. The outcome of using those tools is on the right, and those are the documents that are specific to each development that are used going forward to ensure that those developments give us a park system that we need. So several of the key accomplishments done by long-range planning over the past year was that we have collaborated with the other park districts, and that has added credibility and strength to our mutual positions regarding our park development impact fees. This has been very helpful in the presentation that we made to the BIA in March 2017, and also in ongoing discussions with the BIA and the county. That's been very helpful. We've also been doing ongoing review and comments on 6 major development projects. And a major accomplishment was the preliminary district-wide facility distribution plan that you folks approved in June. That has really added to our ability to be proactive in talking to developers about what the big ticket items are that we need in our district going forward. We're done with those, yay. Okay, next thing. Okay, implementation planning. So at the point that we're done with the long-range planning, we pass the baton to the implementation planner. And she works hand in hand with John, the quality control, and they're reviewing construction plans for developments, the subdivisions, making sure that we have the stubs of the utilities into our park site, that everything looks right with how they're going to build that subdivision out. Then they move into the specific park site design, and whether or not they're doing, the developer's doing turnkey neighborhood construction. And let me say that again, turnkey park neighborhood construction or whether we're managing the design and construction of a community park, Christina and John are very involved in the review of those plans and making sure that we get what we need. So quality control involves a lot more than inspecting a park. I think people may be not aware of everything that goes into that. Like I mentioned, John's really good at cost estimating. He handles all of our encroachment permits. He assists Jerry Dobbs and Park Services with projects that they're doing. And he's a wonderful teacher too. The picture in the middle of this presentation is a volunteer project that was done by a troop of Girl Scouts in connection with the Red Barn project down in Hagen. And they wanted to do a volunteer project that involved installing the kiosk that was part of that project. And so John Biendo, Christina James, and Horacio spent a Saturday morning assisting the Girl Scouts with that project. And John was very patient and a wonderful teacher during that whole process. So there's a couple other pictures of parks. We all know about the Hillside Park. We're all very proud about that park. We've talked about it in the past. I won't go into the details, but that picture says 1,000 words, if you ask me. Cobblestone Park was opened last July. The Capitol Village housing development surrounding that is nearly 100% built out, and it's getting well used at this point. Of course, we're all looking forward to Heron Landing Community Park that we expect will open in November of 2017 to the public. And I wanted to point out in this slide, you can see on the lower right-hand side, there's what looks to be a giant muddy pond. And this year was record rainfall, and that park the construction was delayed by 147 days because of wet weather and wet conditions, and they couldn't work. And one of the things that became very problematic is that all of the storm sewers are plugged up before the project is completed because you can't release polluted, silty water into the system, the stormwater system. And so what happens then is when it keeps raining, that water is building up, and it's going to spill over the sides of the park into the habitat area behind, and that's a big problem. So one thing that we had to do was rent a giant filtration tank, and that had to be manned all day long for 2 solid weeks, including the weekends, to ensure that we were pumping the water off, filtering it, and then dumping it into the stormwater system. And that's something John Biendo spent 2 solid weeks out there managing that whole pumping system. And it's kind of one of those things you don't know about, but it just demonstrates, I mean, we're so dedicated to seeing a successful completion of that park. The Sun River Park course, that was a great example of how public agencies and community neighborhoods can work together for a successful project. Oops, sorry. Okay, this is just a summary of some of our other key accomplishments. We've been reviewing construction plans on four development projects, the Rio del Oro Park, the Veranda Bike Trail, which is part of the VOZ bike trail system that we will be taking that as soon as that's constructed. A couple of projects out in the Sunridge area. We've gotten all the field work done on our ADA transition plan updates, and so we'll be finishing that in the upcoming year. We're very excited about that. And I want to give a shout out to Christina James because we have received $234,000 in funding from 4 different grant applications. And we have another $207,000 that is pending approval, which we expect that we'll get, but we're not sure yet. But Anyhow, she is like a bulldog when it comes to going after those grants, and she's done a very good job putting those applications together. So this is a list of our goals and projects in the upcoming year that we're looking forward to completing. And the top two, Heron Landing Park and the Cordova Community Pool Design, as well as the Lincoln Village Park projects, are going to be the most visible projects. The other thing, most of the other things on that list are things that are going to add to our toolbox to allow us to continue doing good work for the district. And once again, I want to thank you for giving me and my staff the opportunity to do what we love and to be a part of this wonderful organization. So that's my presentation, and happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Oh, thank you, Laura. What a fabulous presentation, and we truly appreciate the work that you do. It's a high level of professionalism, and you know that clearly the facilities that are being built in the district reflect that. So, thank you.
Thank you.
I just wanted to say, Laura, that you've been busy and you're getting busier and busier. But it's so nice to see that you are starting to see results from all the hard work. It's like, gathering and putting in now have a lot more. You've brought to the park district a lot of respect. And that's valuable.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Do we have any other comments or questions for Laura? No? Okay. All right, at this time, we will move on to item E, public hearings.
Thank you, Chair Lineback. Item E1 is to adopt the final budgets for the Cordova Recreation and Park District fiscal year 2017-18. And this item has 2 items in it, but it will be one public hearing. So I'll start by reading the first title. Adopt Resolution 17/18-9 and approve the final budget for Cordova Recreation and Park District General Fund 347A for fiscal year 2017-18 and authorize the district administrator to file with the county auditor controller. And I'll turn it over to Finance Manager Matt Goodell.
Do we open it first?
Yes, we're going to open this public hearing at 6:57 PM.
Flashbacks in. All right, thank you, Chair Lineback, board members. To quote a famous person, today is a good day. And I don't know if that was an ex-president or an unknown author or a rapper, but if you can tell me the answer later, I have a prize for you. But we made it to the finish line, and it says a lot. We spend a lot of time, everyone does, in this. It's not just my budget, it's our budget. And it's months and months of time, and to finally get here and have this great accomplishment, it's amazing. So I want to thank staff for their thoughtful budget proposals. I really appreciate it. To the Budget and Finance Committee for the philosophy discussions that we have, the feedback, the criticism, all the bounce off one that we do off each other and the process and the input. I really appreciate that. So all that coming together, we finally have this final product that I'm really excited about. And hopefully everyone has a color copy. Yeah, nice. So overall, very pleased, and I can't wait to get the year started and see the money at work. And seeing Laura's presentation like that, you can see that the money is definitely going to be working for us this year. So first, what I'd like to do is talk about the overall district picture. Before we get into the general fund, I'd like to kind of give it an overview of how we look district-wide. And so I want to talk about the resources. So this is all the money that's incoming that we have. And these are the main sources that we have district-wide. So all our funds together, including golf course, everything put together. And the largest that we have is the assessments. And it's over $5 million this year, which is different than what we had last year. And that's due to 3 reasons. One, we have Measure J now. That's part of our special assessment tax now. So that's included in there, about $1.8 million. We also had development take place in the villages at Zinfandel. So we have high-density homes units that took place in there. So we have additional revenue there, too. And then, of course, the increase for CPI created an additional revenue source too as well. So that went up from last year, pretty significantly. Property tax, we were going to anticipate a little bit of a bump. We'll still remain conservative. We were super close last time, so I was excited about that, and it was just a little bit over what we anticipated. So I'm hoping it'll be more than the 3.8 we're anticipating. The economy's strong, so it should be, but we're going with that over the 3.7 that we anticipated last year. We're going to utilize fund balance, and this is a carryover amount that we have in our accounts, and it's common to do when we have projects coming up. And so this is going to complete the Heron Landing Community Park project. So we're going to use Sunridge fund balance to accomplish that. And we're also going to use funds that we have in the general fund dedicated to commit towards the Cordova pool project, at least the design portion. And so those are the funds that are going to be used from the fund balance, not current year revenue. The charges for services, this is for the golf course. This is for all recreational programming in their classes that we receive. And so we're anticipating about $1.8 million between all the recreation sides for the cost recovery. And then anything that we rent out. So these are buildings, pavilions, picnics, properties that we have like cell tower leases or a shooting center concessionaire. We have an adjacent property next to the golf course if we happen to rent that out. All those funds get put into the separate revenue tracking account that we have too for property use. And then finally, other. This is all the other stuff, resale, commodities, insurance proceeds. Like Laura mentioned about the cost recovery that we have that we can bill for her planning time, that kind of thing. So that gets put in the other. So overall, total district-wide, what we're talking about is about $14.4 million. This is all incoming resources that we have from everything from tax to the recovery of charging for fees and everything. So this is about $14.4 million in the fund balance that we're going to use as well. And so that comes out to about 84% operations and 16% capital outlay. So about $12 million operating budget that we have and about just over $2 million budget for our projects. Okay? Now the flip side of that, the allocations. This is money that we're spending, and this is district-wide, general fund, all our funds put together. And so, of course, labor is our largest that we have. And we're a service provider, so of course that is, but this is just for our wages, our salaries, and our hourly. That's just that amount at $4 million. And then we also have services and supplies at $3.7 million. And this is about standard what we did last year, but this includes for recreation, parks, planning, admin, everything put together that we spend on our services and supplies. Capital outlay, these are the projects that we're pushing forward this year. It's, again, Heron Landing, the pool project, and Measure J projects put together there. And then we have our taxes and benefits. So this is our group insurance, retirement, employment taxes. Everything else is associated with a wage. So this is the cost that goes there, and it's substantial. And then this is our Mather Sports loan that we have to pay. It's $309,000 every year that we do, of course. And then contingency. This is something new. It's an emergency fund that we're setting aside and budgeting for, proving to be part of this budget. But it's something that we set aside in all our funds. So general fund, all our funds that we're going to have this portion of funds that aren't dedicated to anything. They're not attached to anything. And our goal is to not spend that money, to see that at the end and have it go into our fund balance as reserves for next year. That is the goal. And then finally, our resale. So this is mostly our golf pro shop stuff. So that total of what we spend is 13.8. So if you remember the number that I showed in the last slide, it's higher than this one. So that means we even have a fund balance gap increase just naturally. So we're not spending as much as what we're receiving. So that's very important to note. And that's how it's broken down, our costs. So we're about 50% labor, 27% service supplies, and then our projects that we have this year is about 23% with that contingency based on operations. It's about 3% of operations. So that is what we do district-wide. So about 14.4 incoming and 13.8 outgoing for the year. That is the plan that we're going to stick with, right, staff? Yes, of course. So, all right. So let's get into the general fund. And, it's exactly what it is. It's just general services, what it provides. It's our catch-all account that we have with the County of Sacramento Treasury. It's our pass-through for all our expenses, so all our paychecks are directly coming out of the general fund. All our bills go through the general fund, and then we have our special assessments reimbursed every month. So all our budget's going to be put in the general fund and then be reimbursed for operating transfers. So recreation's in there, park services is in there, planning, facilities maintenance, which is kind of new this year that we're going to highlight, contractual services, and then our support admin as well, clerk, finance, HR, and those kind of departments. So that's what the general fund will take care of. And overall, this is what it looks like for the chart of accounts summarized on where that funding's going from. Again, labor with everything, wages, taxes, benefits, that's our largest. Services, supplies, 3.5. Again, our Mather loan. This is the pool dedication project, just directly associated from the general fund. So the general fund is paying for this amount out of its own fund balance. The park equipment, which will be reimbursed by special funds. And then the negative side, which is the positive revenue that we get to offset that. So this is our tax revenue, our recreation revenue, and our transfers in from all those assessments to pay those bills, those paychecks. And just to let you know, based on last year, I took a look at last year's numbers, and we're $90,000 less than what we spent last year. And what's really important about that is that we're also spending fund balance too, that for the pool project. And we have some changes that are different too, that are also part of this budget that we didn't have last year. And we're adding an administrative assistant position at Hagen. We're also doing a potential facility supervisor that's on the table possibly. And then the pool commitment, of course, and then a reduction in the full-time staff for one position. And so with all these things that are happening, we're still less than what we budgeted for the general fund last year. So I'm very proud of that. And we're having an increase in revenues. So good times there. Right? Okay. And so that's basically the end of my presentation for the general fund portion.
Are there any members of the public that would care to
I'm
comment?
sorry, we have to do both items first because it's one hearing.
Sorry.
Sorry. Item 2 is to reduce communication services by one full-time equivalent employee, FTE, and authorize final layoff notice in accordance with district policy.
So there is a staff report, item E1-A2, I guess. In that is based on an evaluation and management review. I'm recommending that in the best interest of the district is that we're looking to do a reorganization, thus moving the communications manager and that department, the tasks associated with it under the recreation department, thus eliminating the need for a department head in communications. There's an efficiency that will be found in doing so, and it will also be a cost savings in that we will not be funding a position that doesn't have a need for a department to lead it. So my recommendation is to eliminate the position of the communication manager position. Leave it on the books for our salary scale. So at a future date, if there's a need for that to come back, we have an ability to do so. But at this time, it's in the best interest of the district for us to focus on a facility supervisor and our facility assets in order for us to secure those assets and make sure that they're maintained at a high level, and so that we don't have any further deterioration of what's going on with our assets, to make sure that we're on top of that. And there needs to be a little more focus on those assets in order for us to sustain our services here. So that's my recommendation.
Thank you. So at this time, are there any members of the public that would like to comment on this open hearing, this public hearing? Seeing none, we are going to be closing this public hearing at 7:08 p.m. And are there any questions or comments from the board?
Yes, I just wanted two questions. One, Manager Goodell, you had given us the percentages, best practices. I mean, how does that compare? Because I'm very well aware that labor and wages take a certain percentage of a budget setting here, and I don't know if it's normally 60% or something like that. I had heard at some point, I'm not sure. But we're at 48%, am I right?
49, correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
49%. And is this where most of the our other districts find their labor and wages to be at? Are we?
Yes, yeah, so I look at other districts that are comparable to us, like Sunrise and Southgate. Those are the two that mirror us in population and kind of size and what they deal with. And it does, you're right, it's about that 60 to 70% of labor and then 30% services and supplies. And if we took projects out in capital outlay, that number would be higher than that 48, 49%, wherever it lies. And so it is right there with the others and about that ratio. Correct.
All right, great. And the other comment I just wanted to make was, which I was pleased to hear, that with the reorging of the community's, the communications department, that it is simply at this point a vacant position that would stay on the org chart. And from what I read here, it will then, any communications and marketing activities will probably be coming from your office and the district administrator's office and the recreations manager? Is that how it will work?
So yeah, it will not stay in the org chart, it will stay in the salary scale.
Sure.
But it will be remaining vacant, meaning that it is not funded. The tasks associated with those functions will fall under the Recreation Services Department, led by the new Recreation Superintendent. The existing employee in that department will be reporting directly to the superintendent. And of course, I will be working with them both on the direction and focuses that we need to go forward. We have a lot of projects coming forward, and they're going to be able to facilitate them. Some of the tasks associated will be distributed amongst some of the recreation supervisors. They may be asked to do marketing pieces specific to their program areas instead of asking the communications department to develop those for them. So they're going to have some more control over their messaging. We may find a higher volume of marketing and advertising for our programs if they're in charge of doing it for themselves. So we do find that there may be a benefit in an efficiency created through this.
One of the concerns we had before was that, when each department was putting theirs together, we were getting flyers that were not quite uniform. I mean, we're here to hopefully raise our brand and so that would be real important for you guys to keep in mind because of how communication goes out and the flyers that are going out, that at least it is, someone does have it to look it over, somewhere in management or so.
Yeah, the recreation superintendent will be the filter to make sure that our branding is on all marketing materials so that we can continuously promote that in a positive way. So yeah, there will be absolutely those branding requirements on our marketing pieces that go out.
Thank you.
Any other directors have comments or questions? I would like to add briefly that I appreciate the recognition that the facilities require an individual to be specifically looking at that, rightly or wrongly. The public has commented that we've allowed our facilities to deteriorate. I think I've seen a big shift over the last few years with our park superintendent but I also think that it is a smart move to remove facilities responsibility from the recreation department where it's not their strength and move it to an area where that is the strength of the staff. So I would just like to say that while Inez's point about branding is really critical, and I hope the new recreation superintendent is very mindful of that, and I know, Patrick, you have some expertise in that area anyway, I'm glad to see that we should be able to point to the public that we're acknowledging that the facilities have to have somebody looking over them to make sure that things aren't deteriorating when they don't need to. So I would like to compliment that change. And if there are no other comments or questions, I would like to entertain a motion.
I move that the board adopt resolution 17/18-9 and approve the final budget for Cordova Recreation Park District General Fund 347A for fiscal year 2017-18 and authorize the district administrator to file with the county auditor controller.
Thank you, Secretary Yearwood.
Do we do that?
Second?
Do we do it separately?
Yes.
Separately.
Was that a second?
Yes, ma'am.
Director Danzel, thank you. Roll call, please.
Director Sloan?
Aye.
Director Danzel?
Aye.
Secretary Yearwood?
Aye.
Vice Chair Reyes?
Aye.
And Chair Lineback?
Aye.
Thank you.
And can we have a motion on item A2?
Chair Longback, I move the Board of Directors reduce communication services by one full-time equivalent employee FTE and authorize a final layoff notice in accordance with the district policies.
Thank you, Director Danzel.
Second.
Thank you, Vice Chair Reyes. Roll call, please.
Director Sloan?
Aye.
Director Danzel?
Aye.
Secretary Yearwood?
Aye.
Vice Chair Reyes?
Aye.
And Chair Lineback?
Aye. And so now we will move on to item B, EB.
Thank you, Chair Lineback. Item E1B is to adopt Resolution 17/18-10 and approve the final budget for the Independence at Mather Landscaping and Lighting District 347B for fiscal year 2017-18 and authorize the district administrator to file with the county auditor controller.
And we are opening the public hearing on this item at 7:16 PM.
Okay, Finance Manager McAdell back again. We're on the second one of 9 for the evening. So this is Independence at Mather. It was formed in the year 2000, and the services included for this area is maintenance and landscaping of the parks and the facilities. There are 2 located within. Administrative expenses associated with it and contractual services. This year, we're levying per unit at $161.48, which is a 3% increase in CPI from last year's $156.76. And so that total revenue amount equates to $205,000. And so, like I said, the general fund will be responsible for paying park services, labor, and the services and supplies. We'll internally track that to this fund and then do an operating transfer. So we have to do it that manner. The $5,000 that's sitting in the services and supplies is the contingency amount for this fund. And so it's just direct to this fund. We'll leave that there. Otherwise, the other $186,000 will be coming from as an operating transfer. And it will leave a cushion naturally based on the proposal versus the revenue of a $12,000 difference for an increase in fund balance. It has brackets, but that's a good thing. It's an increase in fund balance. And that's my presentation for this area.
Okay, thank you, Matt. And are there any members of the public that would like to comment on this item? And seeing none, I'm going to close this public hearing at 7:17 PM. Are there any comments or questions by the board? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion.
Well, I'll make the motion. I move that the district adopt Resolution 17/18-10 and approve the final budget for the Independence of Mather Landscaping and Lighting District 347B for fiscal year 2017/18 and authorize the district administrator to file with the county auditor controller.
Thank you, Director Sloan.
Second?
Thank you, Director Danzel. Roll call, please.
Director Sloan?
Aye.
Director Danzel?
Aye.
Secretary Yearwood?
Aye.
Vice Chair Reyes?
Aye.
And Chair Lineback?
Aye. Okay, we're going to move on to item, so we are E1C.
Thank you, Chair Lineback. Item E1C is to adopt Resolution 17/18-11 and approve the final budget for the Villages of Zinfandel Community Facilities District, CFD number 01-01, 347C, for fiscal year 2017-18 and authorize the district administrator to file with the county auditor controller.
Thank you, Clerk Jones, and we are going to open this hearing at 7:19 PM.
Okay, so the Villages of Zinfandel is a community facilities district. It is meant for a few things. It's meant for maintenance and landscaping, and also for future capital replacement. So this one's set up a little bit differently than the last one. It also includes any future capital infrastructure repairs within this area and administrative expenses that are associated with it. It was formed in 2001, and this year's rate per house is going to be $328.18. It's a 3% increase from last year of $318.62. And that total revenue comes in at $895,000. There's also some additional units that were built in this area. So I think we went from $730,000 last year to $895,000. So a pretty good jump from last year. The proposal that was submitted from Park Services was $838,000 to fund the utilities, the labor, and the services and supplies in this area, and the contractual services that we use for the landscaping of the streetscapes. And then there's a contingency that we're putting aside for emergency unforeseen circumstances of $24,717 in this area. And with all that said, it still leaves an additional gap of additional fund balance of $31,352 for VOZ. And that's my presentation.
Thank you. Are there any members of the public that would like to comment on this hearing item? Seeing none, we're going to close the public hearing at 7:20 p.m. Are there any directors that have questions or comments about this item? Seeing none, is there a motion?
I move the Board of Directors adopt Resolution 17/18-11 and approve the final budget for the Villages of Zinfandel Community Facilities District, CFD number 01-01, 347C for fiscal year 2017-18, and authorize the district administrator to file with the county auditor controller.
Thank you, Secretary Yearwood.
A second.
Thank you, Director Danzel. Roll call, please.
Director Sloan?
Aye.
Director Danzel?
Aye.
Secretary Yearwood?
Aye.
Vice Chair Reyes?
Aye.
And Chair Lineback?
Aye. So at this time, we will move on to item E1D.
Thank you, Chair Lineback. Item D is to adopt Resolution 17/18-12 and approve the final budget for the Shooting Center Capital Improvements Fund 347D for fiscal year 2017-18 and authorize the district administrator to file with the county auditor controller.
Thank you. We are going to open the public hearing on this item at 7:22 p.m.
Okay, this is a special revenue fund that we have at the shooting center. We receive 3 forms of revenue payments from our concessionaire in the forms of a shooter fee of $2, of a shooter fee of $3, and then also in monthly rent of $1,500. The $3 portion per shooter and the $1,500 goes directly to the general fund. It does not get set aside. It just gets part of our general fund resources. But the $2 per shooter fee gets placed into this fund. And there's established agreement on what these funds are. The district has control of these funds. They're used for programmatic or operational needs of district, future lead abatement for this particular property, and construction and reconstruction or modernization of any district facility, including the shooting center as well. And so this year, we're looking at a $30,000 expense coming out of this for part of the lead abatement that we have to do every 5 years, reclamation, correct? I know there's a terminology word for that, but what do we have to do 5 years? And so for the $2 fee, it represents about $70,000 a year. And so that will be put into this separate fund outside the general fund, and $30,000 will be coming out for that particular cost. So it'll be an increase in fund balance of about $40,000. And that's my report.
Okay. Would any member of the public like to comment on this item?
I do have one speaker card. I'd like to invite Joseph Robards to the podium. And if you don't mind, I'd like to invite you to speak into the microphone so that we can make sure we pick up the sound. Thank you.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I did have a question, but he answered it in his report, so I don't have anything.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Joseph. And so we are going to close the public hearing at 7:24 p.m. Do any directors have a comment or question on this item? I have one quick question. There's an increase in the fund balance of $40,000 based on what you've shown us here today. What is the total balance in that fund at this time?
It's north of $400,000, actually. $422,685, give or take $1.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, would somebody like to make a motion?
I'll move that we adopt Resolution 17/18-12 and approve the final budget for the Shooting Center Capital Improvements Fund 347D for fiscal year 2017-18, and authorize the district administrator to file with the county auditor controller.
Thank you, Vice Chair Reyes.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Director Sloan. Roll call, please.
Director Sloan?
Aye.
Director Danzel?
Aye.
Secretary Yearwood?
Aye.
Vice Chair Reyes?
Aye.
And Chair Lineback?
Aye. Okay, so now we will move on to item E1E.
Thank you, Chair Lineback. Item E1E is to adopt Resolution 17/18-13 and approve the final budget for the Sunridge Community Facilities District CFD number 04-01-347E for fiscal year 2017-18 and authorize the district administrator to file with the county auditor controller.
Okay, at this time, we're going to open the public hearing, 7:26 PM.
All right. You guys are doing great, by the way. I mean, everyone's doing great. Seriously, it's just moving right along.
Yeah, wake up.
All right, halftime entertainment, right? All right, so Sunridge, this is a community facilities district, and so it takes care of our maintenance, it takes care of our infrastructure that we need, and so Parks and Planning becomes very involved in this. And it was formed in 2004, and it's at $396.97 per household now, 3% increase from $385.41 of the previous year. And so the proposal that we received from Parks to manage this area was $1,322,017 and has a contingency of $38,434 that will remain there. And then also the remainder portion of the Heron Landing project for $1.6 million that will be coming out of this fund. And with the fund balance use, with the revenue that we received during the year, that totals at $3.4 million. And so we'll have a natural gap of fund balance increase for this current year, if everything goes great, of $428,000 on top of it. So this fund's doing very well. And that's my report.
Thank you. Are there any members of the public that would like to comment on this item? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing at 7:27 PM. Would any directors like to comment or have a question on this item? Then if somebody would like to make a motion?
I move the Board of Directors adopt Resolution 17/18-13 and approve the final budget for the Sunridge Community Facilities District CFD number 04-01-347E for the fiscal year 2017-18 and authorize the district administrator to file with the county auditor controller.
Thank you, Director Danzel.
I'll second.
Thank you, Secretary Yearwood. Roll call, please.
Director Sloan?
Aye.
Director Danzel?
Aye.
Secretary Yearwood?
Aye.
Vice Chair Reyes?
Aye.
And Chair Lineback?
Aye. So at this time, we will move on to item E1F.
Thank you, Chair Lineback. Item E1F is to adopt Resolution 17/18-14 and approve the final budget for the Cordova Golf Course, 347F, for fiscal year 2017-18 and authorize the district administrator to file with the county auditor controller.
Okay, at this time, we will open the public hearing at 7:28 PM.
You know, I actually wish I would have pictures for this one because I want to give a shout out to Jerry Dobbs and VJ Singh at the golf course because they have done a tremendous job. Those that were able to go out and tour the facility when we had the opening for the 19th hole cantina. I mean, it's amazing. So that golf course is in really good shape, and so I just want to state that. And again, I wish I had some pictures up there, but This is a budget, it's kind of boring. We're not supposed to be doing colorful stuff, so we'll remain here. So the purpose, it's an 18-hole golf course. It's lighted driving range, retail pro shop, has a restaurant, bar and grill that we just opened up again, and a corporation yard. This is the budget that we're taking forth. It's an enterprise fund, and so our goal is to either be zero at the end of the day or have a profit, hopefully a profit, but definitely not the other. And that's my presentation.
Would any member of the public like to comment on this item? Seeing none, we will close the public hearing at 7:30 PM. Are there any directors that have a comment or question on this item? Okay, well then, is there a motion?
I'll make the motion. I move that we adopt the Resolution 17/18-14 and approve the final budget for the Cordova Golf Course, 347F, for fiscal year 2017/18, and authorize District Administrator to file with the County Auditor Controller.
Thank you, Director Sloan.
Second?
Thank you, Vice Chair Reyes. Roll call, please.
Director Sloan?
Aye.
Director Dancel?
Aye.
Secretary Yearwood?
Aye.
Vice Chair Reyes?
Aye.
And Chair Lineback?
Aye. We're now going to move on to item E1G.
Thank you, Chair Lineback. Item E1G is to adopt Resolution 17/18-15 and approve the final budget for the Montalena Community Facilities District, CFD number 2014-01-347J, for fiscal year 2017-18, and authorize the District Administrator to file with the County Auditor Controller.
Okay, we're going to open the public hearing on this item at 7:31 PM.
Okay, for Montalena this year, it's more of a cleanup issue more than anything. There hasn't been development yet. They haven't broke ground. And so we did not levy, if you recall at our previous meeting, we did not levy this area. It was formed in 2016, and we ended up levying it that year, and we received a payment of $58,000, something like that. And they contacted us and said, whoa, we don't have anything going on yet. And so they wanted a refund. And so we were able to negotiate half that to be refunded back, and the other half we kept because we had costs associated with it, with our tax engineer, with legal counsel, and in-house. And so we were able to withhold about $25,000 of that that's sitting in that account that needs to be transferred to the general fund to pay for those expenses that came out of the general fund. And so that's our intent here. But these are the services that we will eventually provide. Of course, we're not doing it now. It's just dirt out there. And also to show that we're going to increase the fee to keep up with the times too. So CPI needs to be included in this. So when we finally do assess them, we're assessing it at the appropriate amount. So again, we're asking for the $25,000 to be budgeted and transferred into the general fund to cover the prior year expenses. That's my report.
So at this time, are there any members of the public that would like to comment on this item? Seeing none, we will close the public hearing at 7:33 PM. Would any director like to make a comment or have a question on this? If not, can I have a motion, please?
I move the Board of Directors adopt Resolution 17/18-15 and approve the final budget for the Montalena Community Facilities District, CFD number 2014-01-347J, for the fiscal year 2017-18, and authorize the District Administrator to file with the County Auditor Controller.
Thank you, Secretary Yearwood.
Second?
Thank you, Vice Chair Reyes. Roll call, please.
Director Sloan?
Aye.
Director Dancel?
Aye.
Secretary Yearwood?
Aye.
Vice Chair Reyes?
Aye.
And Chair Lineback?
Aye. So we will now move on to item E1H.
Thank you, Chair Lineback. Item H is to adopt Resolution 17/18-16 and approve the final budget for the Measure J Community Facilities District, CFD number 2016-01-347P, for fiscal year 2017-18, and authorize the District Administrator to file with the County Auditor Controller.
Thank you, Clerk Jones. We're going to open this public hearing at 7:34 PM.
Okay, so this is our brand-new measure this year, first time levying it. It was formed in 2016, and this will be the first levy. Services are a little bit different than our other ones. They're expanded. They do include acquisition and construction of the parkways, also maintenance and landscaping, a big piece that we felt we needed in this particular area. Provide even some recreational pieces too as well, some after-school programs, possibly sports and recreation programs. And then provide additional security patrol and public safety. Of course, that's always important, and we believe in that. And then repair and replace of wear and tear and vandalism of district facilities. You know, this is an area that's established and older. It's been built in the 60s and 70s, and so we do have older facilities and infrastructure in that area that require attention. And so we're really hoping that this measure can produce that and hopefully potentially not have so much deferred maintenance being kicked down the road. So we're super excited about this. Can't wait. And it's about $50 per house. I think it's at $50.10. And again, we didn't levy it last year. And so how that looks, it's about 1.8 million. There'll be probably a little bit of reductions off that, but it'll be about 1.8 million of revenue. And the operating transfer out for the maintenance is $943,000. And then in-house, there's some cost of $100,000 for labor and $115,000 for services and supplies. And then direct for projects at $710,099. And that's my presentation.
At this time, I invite any member of the public that would like to comment on this item. And seeing none, we are going to close this public hearing at 7:36 PM. Are there any directors that have questions or comments on this item? If not, a motion, please.
Chair Lineback, I move the Board of Directors adopt Resolution 17/18-16 and approve the final budget for the Measure J Community Facilities District CFD number 2016-01-347P for the fiscal year 2017-18 and authorize the district administrator to file with the county auditor controller.
Thank you, Director Danzel.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Director Sloan. Roll call, please.
Director Sloan?
Aye.
Director Danzel?
Aye.
Secretary Yearwood?
Aye.
Vice Chair Reyes?
Aye.
And Chair Lineback?
Aye. We now move on to item E1I.
Thank you, Chair Lineback. Item E1I is to adopt Resolution 17/18-17 and approve the final budget for the Park Maintenance and Recreation Improvement District 347R for fiscal year 2017-18 and authorize the district administrator to file with the county auditor controller.
We are going to open the public hearing on this item at 7:37 PM.
Okay, this is our final fund budget of the evening. It's for the Park Maintenance, Recreation, and Improvement District, better known as the PMRID. And it was formed in 2006, and the services that were meant for this particular area were for maintenance, for landscaping, for installation, for the parks, the facilities, and the corridors and street frontages, the monuments, the pools, security patrols, and pretty much everything that we have located within this area. Today, we're at a $26.05 per house on their property tax bill, and that's a 3% jump from last year of $25.29. How the chart of accounts look summarized, we're going to have services and supplies, which is the contingency amount. That's $50,000 that hopefully we will not be spending. A small project, I'm not quite sure how this was put into this one, but it's $31,000 that we have set aside for a specific project located in this area. And then for maintenance purposes, $1.6 million being transferred out to reimburse the general fund. And then the operating transfer in is from Measure J, and the revenue coming in is about $944,000 for this particular fund. And so there'll be a zero ending balance once all that is worked out. And that's PMRID.
At this time, I would like to invite any member of the public that would like to comment on this item. Yes, yeah.
I'm Bonnie Dominy, and I just have one question. The amount that comes from the general fund into PMRID, where is that on that presentation?
Yeah, so the general benefit amount is part of the transfer in.
Okay.
So part of it's Measure J and part of it is general fund.
Okay,
And so
great.
I can, yeah.
That clears it up. Thank you.
Yeah, there's a 16% mandatory. And it's not necessarily general fund, it could pretty much come from anywhere, but.
It's a match.
Yeah,
It's
it's
the match.
It's the match, because the external,
That's what I was trying to figure out here.
right.
So it could actually come from technically Measure J funds.
Technically, yeah.
First, I would like to close this public hearing at 7:40 PM and then invite any member of the board if they have any comments or questions. Okay, so do we have a motion?
Chair Lambach, I move the Board of Directors adopt Resolution 17/18-17 and approve the final budget for the Park Maintenance and Recreation Improvement District 347R for the fiscal year 2017-18 and authorize the district administrator to file the county auditor controller.
Thank you, Director Danzel.
I'll second.
Thank you, Secretary Yearwood. Roll call, please.
Director Sloan?
Aye.
Director Danzel?
Aye.
Secretary Yearwood?
Aye.
Vice Chair Reyes?
Aye.
And Chair Lineback?
Aye.
We can all exhale. Thank you.
Thank you, Manager Goodell.
Now,
We are moving on to item F, the regular calendar.
Thank you, Chair Lineback. Item F1 is to adopt Resolution 17/18-18, adopting an appropriations GAN limit for fiscal year 2017-18. You almost got away, but
Yeah, I
not
know,
quite.
I'm not going anywhere, I'm still here. All right, so let's talk about the GAN limit, because sometimes we forget. I don't forget, but sometimes other people, it's a good reminder to talk about it. So I found this cool picture, actually, of soon-to-be President Ronald Reagan with George Bush. You can figure it out there on the right. And in the middle is Paul Gann. He's the reason why. And so in 1979, which I think is about when this picture was taken, because I know they were running for the presidential race, and Gann was involved in establishing the Gann limit, Proposition 4 in 1979. And that's basically to limit the ability of government agencies to overtax and overspend taxpayers' dollars. It's a protection for the taxpayers. And so for us, there's a formula on how it's calculated. And so I take a look and start with all our incoming revenue and resources. So it's our taxes and interest on those taxes, special assessments, and then also anything that we make off charging for recreation charges. And so if we were at 110% or 150% of our recreation programs, which would be amazing, that amount would be there. But we're not. We're more of a 50%, 60%, depends on the program, on that cost recovery. So there's no profit. We subsidize that. So that's why that's at zero. And then we take a look at some exemptions. We're able to bring down that number off specific items, and that's retirement, that's debt service, and capital outlay that's happening that year, and some unemployment payments. And so I apply that to last year's. I take a look at the population change, I take a look at the capital or the personal income change, and convert that into a ratio, and then multiply that times last year's calculated amount of the 10 million. And so we're at that 11 million threshold. We want to be below that, and we are. So our final calculation is at that $7 million mark. And so we fall below and satisfy Reagan and Gann's and Bush's requirement. That's my presentation.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments on this item? Motion, please.
I'll move that we adopt Resolution 17/18-18, adopting the appropriations GAN limit for fiscal year 2017/18.
Thank you, Vice Chair Reyes.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Director Sloan. Roll call, please.
Director Sloan?
Aye.
Director Danzel?
Aye.
Secretary Yearwood?
Aye.
Vice Chair Reyes?
Aye.
And Chair Lineback?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now you can go.
Go have a seat. Get off the hot seat and
Stick
go to the
around,
cold
though.
seat. Yeah. So at this time, we'll move on to item F2.
Thank you, Chair Lineback. Item F2 is to adopt Resolution 17/18-19, amending the full-time and part-time salary and hourly rate scales as required by California Code of Regulations, Section 570.5. And I'll turn it over to Human Resource Manager Andrea White.
Thank you, Chair Lineback and Board of Directors. I'm bringing forth to you the 17-18 salary schedule. You'll see that it's very similar from last year, and there are only a few changes at this time. The first change is adding a facilities supervisor that is at the same level as a Park Services Supervisor 2. And this is something that we've discussed, but we haven't completely vetted out with the department. But we wanted to put this in here as a placeholder so we could discuss moving forward, seeing how the budget and how everything was approved first. And so we have that item in here. We also are requesting an increase in the Recreation Superintendent and Park Services Superintendent salary. At this time, with the additional programming and parks, they maintain and program all of the district assets. They supervise 85% of all the staff at the district. And I did some benchmarking of other agencies. Those are high-level positions, and it seemed appropriate to move those 2 positions up. And so they would move from scale 9 to scale 10. I have talked about it for years, and I'm very hopeful that in the near future, we will do a salary survey so we can look at all of those positions. But for right now, those are the 2 major changes to this scale. I did note that we will bring this back at mid-year. That's a good time when we do mid-year review. I will have, there will be more agencies I can benchmark on the part-time salary scale, or the part-time wage scale. The minimum wage is increasing to $11 from $10.50. And so we need to kind of strategize on what's that going to look like, and do we need to make some adjustments to the lower paid positions on the full-time scale. So there's a lot to consider, and we'll be working on those in the next coming months and bring that back around mid-year, before January 1st, because they absolutely have to be making the proper minimum wage. So with that, that's the end of my presentation, but let me know if you have any questions.
Any questions or comments by the board? Thank you, Andrea. Do we have a motion?
Chair Lombach, I move the Board of Directors adopt Resolution 17/18-19, amending the full-time and part-time salary and hourly rate scales as required by the California Code of Regulations, Section 570.5.
Thank you, Director Danzel.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Director Sloan. Roll call, please.
Director Sloan?
Aye.
Director Dancel?
Aye.
Secretary Yearwood?
Aye.
Vice Chair Reyes?
Aye.
And Chair Lineback?
Aye. We're now going to move on to item F3.
Thank you, Chair Lineback. Item F3 is to adopt Resolution 17/18-20 and authorize the District Administrator to make a grant funding request to the County of Sacramento for the State of California Housing-Related Parks Program, HRPP, for the Lincoln Village Pool Renovation Project. And I'll turn it over to Manager Laura Taylor.
Why do I feel so tall? I always have to bring this thing up. Okay, so it's still not high enough, but anyways, staff recommends that the Board of Directors adopt Resolution 17/18-20, authorizing an application to the County of Sacramento for the State of California Housing-Related Parks Program grant funds for the Lincoln Village Pool Renovation Project. We've got a great picture of our Lincoln Village pool right there. And In the end of 2016, the county approached us and said that they expected that there would be funds available that we could utilize in our district, and that the Lincoln Village Park qualified within the boundaries of where that funding could be spent. And they estimated at that time that there would be about $217,000 available. In December of 2016, Interim District Administrator Reamer provided a letter to Sacramento County stating the district's interest in participating in that funding program. So this is a follow-up to complete the circle on that particular request. So at this point, the county has notified us that the amount of available funding has gone down, and that reduction has been prorated across the different partners that have been notified of eligibility for this funding. And just yesterday, we received another notice that it went down by another $2,000. So in your staff report, it says that there was $142,078 available. Now it's $140,752. It doesn't really impact our revised scope of work much at all. We'll be very careful to make sure that we keep it under the allocated amount. Because this is the only operating aquatic center in the district right now, the repairs to the Lincoln Village pool are critical for the community. So the proposed grant project includes replastering the pool with fiberglass, adding tile, installing new code-compliant drains, providing accessibility upgrades to the restrooms and the entry, and purchasing new flooring and furnishings for the pool office to be installed by Cordova Recreation and Park District labor. So the county's administrative costs are not eligible for grant funding, so therefore we will need to pay approximately 10% of the value of the grant to the county for their administrative costs. So what this resolution will do is authorize the submittal to the County Sacramento Board of Supervisors requesting the grant funding. And it will also authorize the district administrator to have signatory authority regarding this grant funding request, the subsequent agreements that we will need to sign with the county, as well as the request for proposals and the construction contract awards. Thank you very much.
Okay, are there any questions or comments on this item?
You better get the money fast, because it's going down.
We're trying,
So,
not for a lack of trying.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion.
I would just like to make a brief comment that it sounds like a lot of work being done for that amount of money.
that's good.
Replastering and flooring and,
Well, the pool office is really a small square footage amount, and so it is conceptual. We'll have to fine tune the details of the scope, but we do have a cost estimate that we should be able to accomplish a large part of that scope of work.
Good.
I think that's fabulous.
Yes, I do have one question. When is that scope of work do you think will take place?
So the money should become available in fall of this coming year. So as soon as the money is available, we're already actually starting on construction plans. We've already started them in our office.
This fall, 2017.
Yes,
So it'll be done before the swimming season next year.
that's our
Oh, that'll
goal.
be good.
That's our goal.
Good, good, good.
Okay, I'll make a motion. Do you guys, is it okay? Okay.
Do you want to make a motion for a specific resolution, or?
No, I was just gonna make the motion that was requested here.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Director Sloan. Is there a second?
Second,
I didn't, wait.
you have to
I'm
read
gonna
it
read it.
first. He's just going to read it, D.
Oh, okay.
I move the Board of Directors adopt Resolution 17/18-20, and authorize the district administrator to make a grant funding request to the County of Sacramento for the State of California Housing-Related Parks Programs, HRPP, for the Lincoln Village Pool Renovation Project.
Second.
Thank you, Director Sloan, and thank you, Vice Chair Reyes. Roll call.
Director Sloan?
Aye.
Director Dancel?
Aye.
Secretary Yearwood?
Aye.
Vice Chair Reyes?
Aye.
And Chair Lineback?
Aye. At this time, we're going to move on to item G, committee reports.
Thank you, Chair Lineback. Item G1 is for the Standing Committee for Budget and Finance, which took place on July 25th.
Thank you. Would you like to start with your report, Vice Chair Reyes?
I will probably take a few and then leave the rest up to you, Chair. First and foremost, I did want to say to staff that I really appreciate the hard work that's gone in to finance and budget and preparation for our committees and staffs being able to understand our needs for clarity, simplicity, all the way to help make sure that not only ourselves, but our constituents are able to understand it. And there's been a lot of changes. And I think that it's showing up very well. One of our, what I'd like to, on the agenda was the monthly district finance report template. And that is really helping us, with the pie chart, helping us with understanding and allowing us not to have to go into the minutiae unless we need it, right? I also want to say that it is probably in that, in this whole process of a different approach to our budget and the reporting, that we discovered really the ability to have facilities, to separate the facilities, to be able to see that there is a value in one, as Chair Lineback had said, not expecting the recreation programs to be answerable for the facility overhead, because that was not fair. The other thing was to be able to see that we did need a position for that responsibility, and that through it, it'll probably help us be a lot more focused on being able to understand the needs of the facilities and understand, our contingency. I need to put reserves, etc. So I really appreciate that. And I think that the monthly district financial report is so much more, at least I feel, so much more understandable.
Okay, so I would like to add to that report that we had discussed the fact that the audits were coming very late in the fiscal year, so that by the time we actually got the results from a final audit of the prior year, the current year had almost totally already gone by. There was very little opportunity in that to have suggestions or questions that could have any real impact. You're really looking at a full year's delay before anything could be questioned, commented on, improved on, changed. So we're delighted that Finance Manager Goodell has told us that they communicated that concern to the auditors, and this year's audit will be moved up, and we should be seeing the results much sooner in this fiscal year, hopefully by December, instead of, May or June. So, and we made we talked about also on the monthly financial reports about whether or not some of the information needed to be repeated month after month, such as the categorization of the various, descriptions of, revenues, salaries, et cetera, et cetera. And our perspective was that these reports are not just for the board that sees them every month, but they're also for the public. And the public may not be familiar, they don't see the same report month after month after month unless they're paying very close attention. And so even though it looks repetitive to those of us that see it all the time, we still thought it was important to keep that information in there for the public to see whenever they looked at a given month's information. And, well, community facilities district items on consent calendar. I, for one, am not a fan of annual items being on a consent calendar. I think a consent calendar should be for routine items, that are ongoing every month, minutes, financial reports, things like that, that happen regularly. And that's really the intent of a consent calendar. And I think, well, obviously, we've gone over the updates of the final budget and, in fact, have approved them, so.
Just to add, Chair Lineback, I think one of the things also that we were able to discuss and we were able to reiterate, and Finance has been able to do, is to see to it that the budget was available, easily accessible on the web. And I think that was real helpful. So, because obviously, I know we've experienced our constituents coming up and not knowing where to find it. And so I think there was a little change that was going to be done in our website so that they will be able to access it. And also for staff that to be able to upload it, for them to be able to
Right.
access easily.
Right, so it would be a separate item on the website, not just included in a board package the way we see it.
Chair Lambeck, I have one speaker card on this item. I'd like to call Joseph Robarts to the podium, please.
I'm not sure if this is this good? Okay. I'm not sure if this is the right item for this, but I was going to ask what the progress, if there's any progress to report on the getting the loan for the Hicken Pool project, but I'm guessing I'm getting the wrong item.
That item isn't on this agenda.
I think it might be possibly better when we do have the report from staff on some proposal, because if I'm not mistaken, staff went out for the RFQ, which is request for qualifications for qualified.
I'll be reporting on that in my section.
So I know staff has gone out on that for that, so maybe
Okay.
from there, you'll be able to get information. District
Okay.
administrator will be reporting on that.
Okay, sorry about that.
No problem.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and at this time, we are moving on to item H, Board of Director items, board member reports. There were no trainings, evidently, so if we want to move on to the individual directors' reports, would you like to start, Director Sloan?
Sure, I'll start. On the July 20th, I attended the 19th hole Cantina ribbon cutting and fabulous tasting lunch and golf course tour I had from Jim Marta. I was very pleased. I thought that the family that that now has the concessionaire agreement going, I think they're going to do very well. I want to hear how they're doing, because I haven't been back, but I told my wife about it, and then we're going to go there for a happy hour and check out some of their goodies. And I said, I'm going to have her bring a putter, we can just putt around after. But I was very, very pleased. The quality of food was just, I thought, excellent. And I photographed it and posted it on my Facebook page. I was very happy about that. The tour, I was very pleased with the tour. It gave me a nice tour, and I was just, only thing that really surprised me was the amount of geese out there and on the course. There was hundreds and hundreds of geese out there. So, it makes you think about, it might be easier to get a birdie on that course than other courses, but. On July 21st, I attended the Party in the Park. And like Jason said, if you've never been to one of our parties in the park, I mean, it's a very pleasant experience. The little vending people out there, the fact that we had a private party out there that had like a little, ribbon around them, so you weren't supposed to invade their territory. It was a little weird, but I still understood that they wanted to have like their own little territory. But they're the ones who really got up and started dancing to the music, and it was a good group, I thought, a very good group, and a lot of neat things that we were offered from the district. And I took a lot of nice photographs, and it was very well attended. And I want to thank the district for that job on the park. Let's see. Next would go August 12th. Last Saturday, I went to the Rosemont Community celebration in the park, Rosemont Park, and another great job of seeing what takes place in our community parks. It's a nice. It sort of reminded me. I was talking to someone about what I was experiencing at the Rosemont Park was that Kids Day, when it used to be at White Rock Park, used to be very much like that same flavor. It was a little bit smaller, and then Kids Day blossomed into a spectacular event, which takes 5 hours, and they only do it in 4 hours or whatever. It's gone crazy. But Rosemont is, I think it's really a class act community, and they put on a nice show, and everything was free. Horse riding, they had train rides out there. They had hot dogs and snow cones, and a lot of vendors and people passing out toothbrushes and giving back massages. I mean, the police were out there, the fire department were out there. I mean, it was really nice. I really enjoyed it. District was out there with their table, and so I took lots of photographs, and I will be giving them to Terry Dugan, who's the president of that association. Then on August 15th, which was yesterday, I attended the Rancho Cordova Athletic Association meeting. And basically what we went over was the new allotments for the Community Enhancement Fund. And it turns out that they're giving $9,000 to Stone Creek for soccer field, fixing, or either more attention to it, or for fertilizing or something. That's what they're allotting for that. And I left my paperwork in the car, and I think there's also on the agenda was for their money allotment was lights at the Little League field. Are you working on them with that, lights?
This is the first I'm hearing of it.
Yeah.
Better.
So, and I don't know if I don't think it's a field on school property. I would think if they were going to do it, they're going to do it on the major field. So that might be something you want to talk to. Jason was there. Maybe they can do some further up, but they are looking at putting lights out there at the Little League, Cordova Lane.
Maybe on the school field.
Not sure where. And by the way, this Saturday is the soccer jamboree at Stone Creek, and there's going to be like 1,000 kids out there. It's such a big program, and I invite you all to come on out. So I think there'll be games going on from 9 to about 1:30 or something, and just to see, they're really happy with the Stone Creek Park. It looks beautiful. It's taken care of very well, and the program's just flourishing, and something I think you should all take advantage of to get out there. You might even see a council member out there, because I think his son plays on one of the teams. What else? Going back to the Rancho Cordova Athletic Association, I just want to remind the people that the Hall of Fame is going to be October 14th, which is also Michael's, which one is it? 30th class reunion? 30 years ago, man. They also are going to fund, I heard there's a new basketball league that's going to be funding part of that community enhancement. They're starting an 8th grade to 12th grade basketball league at Cordova High.
Is that that one gentleman who did that at
Not the Crossroads. No, it's something else. I think Fletcher Johnson is part, yeah. And so that's about it. I think I'm done.
Director Danzel?
I have to apologize. The month of August was pretty much my the month of July was pretty much my vacation. So I wasn't able to really attend some district functions. So I do apologize for that, but we're back into
big deal.
the swing of things. So I'll be back. Yeah, I know. Sorry, Mike.
Secretary Yearwood?
Oh, I didn't actually have anything to report either. And then I realized I went to the Rosemont Community Celebration over the weekend. Another great event, like Director Sloan said. Seems to get bigger and bigger every year, so had a good time. Everybody out there except for somebody.
Except for somebody.
Secretary Yearwood, I do have to apologize. I was trying to find a place for my son to live in San Jose. So
you did know your way.
Vice Chair Reyes?
Yes, the golf course ribbon cutting was wonderful. The food is very good, and just like Director Sloan, it's like I keep telling everybody, hey, do you know there's a great cantina on our golf course, and so hopefully that drums up business. I did want to say that I did also take the golf cart tour with VJ, and it was awesome. I had a wonderful time. He is just great. Actually, we were going around and we saw on my end, I saw the ponds. And then I go, how about the fishing derby here or something? He goes, yeah, we have it. And so he pointed out the great big carp, grass carps, etc. And we were going around, and all of a sudden, we almost had a bump in. Here came this cart with two ladies coming up the same, and it's so funny because Singh just goes, then when someone's putting, we have to sit quietly, be quiet, wait, and then go on. And it was the funniest thing, because then all of a sudden we were going, and here came these two, and they were like, "Quirk," and I'm like, oh my God, it was Andrea and Danielle. And it was fun, though. It was really great. They had fun. If you didn't know that, they took a tour. And I said to VJ, can I just come out here, have something at the cantina, take a cart around and drive, because it's really nice. He kind of looked at me like, or do I have to be playing? And he just looked like, well, maybe if you're here as a director inspecting a little, we can do that. It was the funniest thing, because it was just neat. The only thing we were talking about, and he was showing me everything he did, it looked great. There's just, he was telling me he was going to work on a project to clear a little bit of what you call no, it was more the grass, or there were some areas that were not cleared. And he wanted to work on clearing them because they were growing tall. The weeds or the grass was growing quite taller, whatever plants those were. But they were good. I really enjoyed it very much. And that's just like it's his little house here, his little town. So that was great. And it's looking great. And then the other thing here is I did attend the RCA Rosemont Community Celebration. I was thrilled to see our district administrator, my co-directors here out there, and we all looked at each other, because I do remember Director Sloan when they just started, and they started having the first annual and the second annual, and it was small, and it's grown really big, and it was really nice. And we did have a booth right next to the massage. See, if you work the booth. You would have probably gotten the massage, ladies. And what happened here is Christina was there, and I told, and they were having a survey for so there was activity. It was really neat. I did have a comment to our district administrator and said, well, wouldn't it be nice if our tents had our logo on it? So he said, keep your eyes open. You may see it one day. And so I'm looking forward to that. The other thing I wanted to say was we were very well introduced and acknowledged in the crowd, and I thought that was real important because then we could talk to the residents there, and we could talk to them about Rosemont Community Park, and they would talk to us about it. I did talk to a very important person that I think is one of our dear partners here. It's Don Natoli. He showed up, and we had a good time talking, catching up, and he's really looking forward to the county. I was telling there's a lot of county development happening here. So he's looking forward in seeing to it that we get a good working relationship for that development, etc. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. And my report, I also attended the concessionaire ribbon cutting at the 19th Hole Cantina, and I told my husband we need to go there for happy hour, so hey, Rick, maybe we could double date.
Can I say something about the 19th Hole Cantina real fast?
Sure.
On Yelp, took a look, because last month they were climbing.
Yep.
You do best tacos in Sacramento, search it in Yelp, because they're in Sacramento technically. So all of Sacramento, there's 2,356 establishments of taquerias being rated in this category. And they're third.
Wow.
They're third
Wow.
out of 2,356. They just passed La Favorita, which we had tonight by coincidence. But yeah, amazing statements. You have to go read these Yelp reviews. I'm just blown away right now. So yeah.
That's great.
Great, thank you for that bit of news. That's awesome.
What was it? The week before they opened, Sacramento actually had rated them
Number one.
number 5 before they opened.
Yeah.
Just because of the family who was operating and knowing what was coming from them. So the week before they opened, they were number 5 in Sacramento.
That's awesome, yeah.
Now they open, they jump up 2 spots. Eh?
I didn't get to tour the golf course, unfortunately, and I would really like to at some time, but I had another commitment that afternoon. I guess because I'm an Air Force brat, I was really excited about that Black Hawk landing in Argonaut Park. So I did go. I kind of stayed on the fringes. I didn't, approach anybody, and just hundreds of children. It was really cool. And, I might go to the next one too, just because I'm kind of a geek about that stuff. And lastly, I also attended the Rosemont Celebration of Community. And I'm glad to see that, the district participates in that event. Obviously, we don't take credit for that event, but glad to see you there. There's huge turnout in the community for that event, so I think it's great exposure for the district there. And I will echo the desire to see the logo up on the Easy Up so people can see it from, further away. And that's my report. So at this time, we are going to move on to item H2, Board Officers' Appointments Elections.
Thank you, Chair Lineback. Item H2A is to nominate a member of the Board of Directors to serve on the Sacramento Local Agency Formation Commission, LAFCO, for a 4-year unpaid term and adopt Resolution 17/18-21, supporting the nomination and service on the commission if elected. And this item is actually distinct from our Special District Advisory Committee, so I just want to make that note. But there are 2 seats available currently for Special District Commissioner on LAFCO. There's for office number 7, and then for the alternate commissioner. And I kind of wanted to go over the options for these seats because the ballot might be a little bit confusing. But the option for you all to nominate is to nominate for the Commissioner of Officer 7, or the alternate, or both. The reasoning behind that, I called up the commission and spoke with the clerk to kind of figure out why they would offer it that way on the ballot. And she explained that this is an option for members who are really interested in serving on LAFCO and want to give them the opportunity in case the field of candidates is large or in case there's a particularly strong incumbent to also fill the seat as an alternate if so nominated. So that would be why both seats are open. Some director may wish to only go for the alternate position if they prefer something that has less of a time commitment, so that option is available as well. So the board can make a nomination for one seat or both. In terms of the fiscal impact, as you know, the nomination does not guarantee selection. Election to LAFCO also does not include additional compensation above what is allowed in district policy. And then you have the options for the motion in front of you. Thank you.
For clarification, when you say one or both, are you talking about an individual director being nominated for both?
No, thank you for that question. It's for one person to be nominated in either of those seats, or both.
Okay, thank you. And so at this time, we can make a nomination if we wish.
Chair Longback, I move the Board of Directors nominate Director Secretary Yearwood to serve on the Sacramento Local Agency Formation Committee, LAFCO, as a Special District Commissioner, Officer Number 7, and alternate Special District Commissioner for Office Number 6 and 7.
I'll second that. Is that how we do it?
I guess that's the way.
Roll call vote?
Director Sloan?
Aye.
Director Danzel?
Aye.
Secretary Yearwood?
Aye.
Vice Chair Reyes?
Aye.
And Chair Lineback?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, you do.
Get to add it to your credential, add it to your resume.
All right.
Okay.
You like to laugh, right? Yeah. Yeah. It's a laugh company.
So at this time, we're going to move on to item I.
Thank you, Chair Lineback. Item I-1 is the monthly district-wide progress report for August 2017, and I'll turn it over to Administrator Larkin.
Great, I'm just going to go through some highlights of the past month. You had mentioned that we had a Black Hawk helicopter landing at Argonaut Park, which went very successfully. It was a great partnership between Elk Grove Unified School District and Sunrise Elementary, ourselves and the National Guard. All worked together to make sure that this was a successful helicopter landing for the kids. It was really incredible. I mean, it was shocking almost how this gigantic helicopter came and landed in the middle of the park. And no one's head got chopped off. So I thought that was incredible.
It was like,
And
voters are pretty.
right. It was a little high. But the National Guard folks that were on the flight did an amazing job educating the kids about what it means to be a military and serving in the military. And it was funny because when they had asked a question of the kids, who has a family member that is in the military, almost every single kid in the presentation raised their hand. So I thought that was really, it kind of shocked me a little bit, but this is definitely a military area. And so it's just good for us to constantly be reminded of the fact that these are the people that we're serving and be mindful of that. So we definitely support them. We have another helicopter, Black Hawk helicopter landing coming up. And that was going to be, it's scheduled for August 24th, and it is in collaboration with the city of Rancho Cordova on their Inspire the Future event. It's going to be held at Dave Roberts Community Park. We are working with the school district, Williams, I believe, Elementary School, and Mills Middle School. Mitchell, thank you.
It'll be way
So
soon.
it'll be an opportunity for the Blackhawk helicopter to land in Dave Roberts Park. The middle school students and the elementary students will be given an opportunity to learn about military service, and there will be a nice surprise for them that I've been sworn to secrecy in terms of an opportunity for the kids that will be attending that event. So you are welcome. You will get a formal invitation from the city of Rancho Cordova, who is hosting this. It is going to be part of their Inspire the Future, which they've done, I guess, annually, where they have a big fanfare and go around to different schools in the city of Rancho Cordova to support the air show. I'll just leave it at that.
About what time does that happen? Is it during the day?
It'll be in the morning. So
It's about 8:30?
yeah, about 8:30 in the morning, the helicopter landing, I believe at this time, it's scheduled to land at 9 a.m. It's quite impressive to see it come in and land. So I will have more details and more information and a formal invitation from the city to extend to you once I get that. It's been a great actual opportunity for us to work closely with the city as well, in partnering and making sure that, we're offering the park, they're offering the event, the school districts are participating, so it's a really good synergy of collaboration, so I'm really happy with that. Also, I attended the National Night Out event at Lincoln Village Community Park, and it was a great event, actually. The community there is a very close-knit community. They had an opportunity for the families to get together, know each other. We also got an opportunity to visit the newly installed Little Library. I believe that's what it's called, Little Library. And I'll go a little bit more into detail. We had some great participation. We had the city manager and mayor and Councilmember Garrett out at the event, and it went very successfully. So job well done to that community. Let's see, what else? We are all registered, those, I should say, Chair Leinbach, Vice Chair Reyes, Director Sloan, and myself are scheduled for the CSDA conference coming up in Monterey from September 25th to the 28th. Thank you, Danielle, for really working that out for us. It was a bit of a challenge, but we made it work, and I appreciate all your work on that. We have a new recreation activity guide that has come out, and I have to say I am really excited about it. I am very proud of the fact that we are kind of going in a direction where our brand is becoming more prominent on the cover. The layout is really well done. There's a lack of white space, which means that we're being efficient in the spaces that we're using in this key marketing tool. So if you haven't had an opportunity to see the activity guide, please pick one up. If you need one, I will be more than happy to share with you what that looks like. We have an IT update. We have a new server and new computers have been installed and updated at the Hagen Community Center as a part of Phase 2 of the Hagen IT project. A new server is currently scheduled for installation at the Neil Orchard Senior Activity Center. We went through a recruitment for the recreation superintendent, which were conducted on July 26th. There were 8 extremely qualified candidates that were interviewed. And the board will be notified of the person we selected at the next meeting. We have made an offer, and the offer has been accepted. Our new superintendent will be slated to start August 28th. Her name is Jill Nuns. She comes from the city of Sacramento as a department manager, and so she will be joining our team starting August 28th. So we will absolutely give an introduction to her at a future board meeting. We also sent out a notice about her coming onto our team from Andrea. I believe you guys got that through an email, and they will also be looking to do a press release on that. Let's see. We had a really great celebration of staff on July 27th. The administration staff stepped up and produced an incredible hot dog and hamburgers and staff recognition event. We're doing a pickle program, which is a recognition of each other. to identify when someone is doing something that's in the concepts of our positive customer service and who we are as a team. And when I first got here in January, the first one I attended, we had about 12 recognition pickles, we call them. And then at this one, we had 63. So there has been an upswell of people appreciating each other and their works and recognizing each other. So I'm really happy about that the staff are all buying into this concept and celebrating each other. It really helps with our morale and making sure that we have a positive work culture. They were also given these really cool superhero shirts because the theme of our event was superheroes, so we were able to secure free shirts because of a faux pas with a shirt order in the past. So we were able to get these really cool shirts for our staff, and everyone got one, and they looked fantastic. On another note, Park Services unfortunately have been dealing with some major vandalism and graffiti throughout the district as of late. They're doing an amazing job in getting it hammered out as soon as they're made aware of it. There's not only an uptick in graffiti and vandalism throughout the district, but there's also seeming to be more of a presence of people that are in need of homes. So there's a homeless population that seems to be pushed into Rancho Cordova that we are going to need to reach out to our partners in this community and get a handle on how we're going to address this as a community. But there has been an increase in reporting that folks are now going into parks that they hadn't been before. And so we are aware of it. We are also in contact with our Rancho Cordova Police and County Sheriff. And then we also have a collaborative group on the American River Parkway that we're working on this issue collaboratively. And we're going to hopefully pull some folks together so that we can address this as a whole community instead of having one particular agency responsible for what's going on here. So that's something coming in the future. I mentioned the little library, which was Lincoln Village Community Park. Faiza, who is an incredible community advocate out there, worked with Jerry and our staff to install this great little library. There's been pictures that have been on Facebook. I spoke with Faiza at the National Night Out. She was thrilled that we were able to get this done. We also collaborated with the city of Rancho Cordova to fund the actual hardware for this. So it was a really great community effort to get this done, and I was really happy about the fact that we're going to pilot this at this location to see if it's successful. If it is successful, we may extend this model out to additional parks in the future.
Oh, yeah.
So great success,
Yep.
great example of community partnership and the community getting involved. In recreation, we've had really great success with our camps this year. We've had 582 participants in our camps. Teens were able to learn some new inventor skills at a camp for 1 week. They did all these different kinds of inventions. And on Friday, July 14th, the teens had the opportunity to visit Lincoln Village Park Pool to put their boats that they created to the test while enjoying water games. So they tested out their inventions and used them at the pool, which was cool. We did install the MSC dugout cooling fans, which we got some money to do so. And there are 6 cooling fans that were installed in the dugouts at Mather Sports Complex, which will greatly increase the quality of our playability out there. We did Party in the Park, which was a great success. There was a great turnout for that. And also the update on the pool, Cordova Community Pool Replacement Program. The RFQ did go out after the last meeting. We've had 2 site visits that we have out of 4. Out of the 2 site visits, we've had, I believe, 12 people view the site with 11 potential bidders or interests from different companies coming forward at this time. We have 2 more site visits scheduled for those that are interested in bidding on the project. And Laura's been great by getting them out there and answering any questions in the process. After that closes, the RFQ will close on August 24th. And at that time, we will be reviewing the applications and then looking to possibly interview the top qualified candidates and then make a decision to go forward to the board at that time. And just one last update about Heron Landing Park. Their finishing grading continues, and the irrigation systems are now being tested in preparation of hydro seeding. We are looking to be on schedule for it to go live and ribbon cutting in November, if all goes well and we all of a sudden don't get rain. So we are happy about that. We were able to kind of speed up the fact that we had lost so many days in the winter with all the rain. Some things on the invitation calendar that I would like to make note for you all. The Inspire the Future event that I mentioned about the Black Hawk helicopter landing, it's a pretty political event. I think there's plans for school board members as well as city council members. You are all formally invited to attend as well and encouraged to do so. And as I said, I will give you more information about that once it becomes available. Also, we have a partnership ribbon cutting ceremony that's going to take place on August 30th at Federspiel Park. They had done the sidewalks in front of our park, and so we're working with the city to celebrate that project. And so we are partnering with them to offer them the park to do a celebratory ribbon cutting, and you all will be invited formally to that event as well. And with that, that concludes my presentation.
Are there any questions or comments by the board on this item?
I was going to just comment that with regard to the grants, the chart below, that's very helpful. I really appreciate it. And I think it would be awesome if we can just constantly have this either added on to, or, hey, you know, it's been done, because that's where you can see. I did, at the Rosemont Community Celebration, I did get some residents talking to me and asking me about the SHRA CDBG, and, you know, where is that now? And so I think it's good to see it right here.
That's definitely our plan, is to monthly
Yes,
update the board
yes,
on
so
where
that
we are
means-
in progress.
Great, so
Yeah.
at least we know
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
we are aware of it, you know? Thank you, that's
Yep.
very good.
And if things change, because this report is due to processing, and there, like Laura had the update for the grant for the HRPP, we will update that verbally as information becomes available, if it's a gap between when it's reported and the board meetings.
One question. The Red Barn, I mean, maybe you said it, but maybe I missed it, I didn't hear it, but the painting thing is scheduled for September. Do we have a date in September?
Yes, I just talked to, no, we don't. I talked to Christina before this meeting to check in on that, and actually, the school district representative is suggesting perhaps October might be a little better. So it's not set, we're waiting for the school district to tell us at what point they feel like the students will be ready for that, because they want to wait till the school gets started and they have a little bit of time under their belt before they try to schedule this.
Would that be a Saturday event, or do you have an idea?
I don't know the answer to that.
Do it during the ag classes.
Oh,
That way the kids are there.
okay.
On the, Laura, on the SHRA grant for 2017, I thought that Christina said at the Rosemont Celebration of Community that we did not get that grant. Is that true? Or it's premature to say that?
They have proposed back to us that we submit design funding rather than the entire construction project. And at this point, we haven't heard back that whether or not for sure they're going to award the design funding, but it was their recommendation, so I'm hopeful. And then once we get the design funding, then of course we would turn around in the next grant round of applications and submit for the construction.
Thank you. Okay, so, and going to move on at this time to communications.
Thank you, Chair Lineback. Item J1, communications. We continue to bring to you the positive comments that we're receiving in the community. We have one news article. I also submitted the CSDA ballot vote. We have our camp newsletters, and I also try to include color photos in the board packet whenever those are attached. And then we have the Senior Activity Center newsletter.
Okay, thank you very much, Clerk Jones. Now we're going to move on to item K, future agenda items.
Thank you, Chair Lineback. Item K1 is regarding the regular board meeting of September 20th, 2017. And so far on the agenda, we have planned the presentation from the Cordova Community Council on the 4th of July celebration, their financial report. And then on K2, you have your calendar there for August and September.
Okay, thank you. And so at this time, we're going to move on to item L, which is a closed session item.
Item L1 is regarding a liability claim pursuant to California Government Code Section 54956.95. The claimant is Piper Hendershot, and the agency claimed against is the Cordova Recreation and Park District.
Okay, so we are going to go into the closed session at 8:39 PM.
39 PM.
I've been dying.
Thank you. I don't forget. When this involved